Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory!
Greetings, viewers! Nighthead I here, bringing you another commentary. I love old Disney films, and I came across two videos that discuss them. One being a video that talks about Disney sidekicks, which I may or may not get to in the future, and the other one's from MatPat's side channel, Film Theory, talking about the Lion King remake and how Scar is the rightful ruler of Pride Rock. Now I have to weigh my options here. I can go into this with a level head and counter whatever points made by MatPat I can, or I could pull a Misanthrope pony and scream in rage. I think you guys know what I'm gonna do here. How fucking dare you touch something I liked as a kid? How dare you, MatPat? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you have more sense than me, fuck you, I hate you.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the YouTube channel that's doing more animation than Disney these days. Pew pew! Shots fired. Got him good. But in all seriousness, while we're over here keyframing until the cows come home, Disney, a company built on beautifully hand-drawn animated classics, is like, screw that noise, live action is where it's at. In 2019 alone, they're releasing four live action remakes in the same year. We've already had Aladdin and Dumbo, Maleficent Mistress of Evil is coming later this year, and of course, there's the most recent one, the one I'm most excited for, The Lion King.
Oh, goody. MatPat's another person who can't tell the difference between CGI and live action when talking about this movie. In all seriousness, I'm rather sick and tired of people moaning over Disney rebooting all their established films. If Disney wants to do live action remakes of their old films, or CGI in this case, they have every right to do so. And from what I've seen, the Aladdin and Dumbo remakes look way better than those live action 101 Dalmatian movies that were made back in the day. Of course, that may be due to the fact that CGI and computer effects have come a long way since then. Not that I don't understand why people were apprehensive about the Lion King remake. Considering they're going for photorealism, it'd pretty much be impossible to get the same cartoony expressions out of CGI models that are meant to move and look like actual animals.
But also, I'm so hyped to see this new version of The Lion King because it's gonna have a different, far more epic, far more brutal ending. It's got to, right? I mean, since it was so important to remake The Lion King to be more realistic this time around, Disney must be making the responsible decision here to show us how this story would have really ended out there in the wild, which will make The Lion King 2019 one of Disney's darkest, bloodiest movies ever. Because when the dust settles in this movie, the lion standing on top of Pride Rock won't be Simba. Heck, might not even be Scar. So be prepared, my dear theorists. Today we're looking at what a more live-action version of The Lion King would really look like.
And by the time this video came out, the movie's already hit theaters. Oh crap, maybe I should put up a spoiler warning or something. There. From what I've seen and heard, the remake basically follows the same story as the original movie. There have only been a few changes, like the hyenas being less incompetent and idiotic and more ferocious, less slapstick, and some iconic songs being cut, but there are also the addition of some new songs, some new scenes, and lines added to the dialogue.
For today's theory, we're only going to be looking at the events of The Lion King. I know there are sequels and books covering what happens before and after the movie, but as you'll soon see, those are so horribly inaccurate that they'd never happen. So sorry, Lion King 2, Lion King: A Tale of Two Brothers, and Lion King 1.5, which sounds more like a bad Kingdom Hearts spin-off. You're all deader to me than Mufasa.
Actually, it was more of a side story, and not even a good one. Also, why are you talking about the sequels on a book when you're talking about the remake? No duh, those wouldn't factor into the movie. Now, if the writers had chosen to integrate the Outlanders into the remake as Scar's army that he would use to intimidate Mufasa's pride into compliance, that actually would have been pretty clever. But the hyenas are still very much a thing in the movie. Point is, I don't see why you brought these up when they have nothing to do with your theory.
in the movie, we're led to believe that prides of lions just pass off dominance in the same way as a human monarchy. Male lions born from the king go on to take over the pride when the king passes away. However, in a more realistic story, like the one Disney's delivering us here in 2019,
that's what you think.
after researching how lions actually behave in the wild, I've come to learn that what would have really happened here is a far darker and far bloodier story. There is no Hakuna Matata in today's theory, my friends. Let's begin. To start off with, in order to understand the society of the lions we're talking about, we first have to understand what kind of lions Mufasa, Scar, and Simba actually are. I mean, this live-action remake portrays them as real lions, so they have to be based off of real animals somewhere along the line here, right? Well, surprisingly, it's actually easy to find out the exact subspecies of lion we're talking about. When researching for the film, the producers, director, and other lead crew took a trip to Hell's Gate National Park in Kenya, Africa. This would end up being what the entire film was based off of. Pride Rock, it's an actual real place in Hell's Gate. Being set in Kenya would make the lions we see in The Lion King the Panthera leomelanokaita, or East African lion. But we can get even more specific here. Let's look a bit closer at the character models for Scar and Simba. Notice these extra tufts of hair on their knee joints? This isn't just a little extra animation, this clearly identifies them as Maasai lions. So with that knowledge in hand, we can actually analyze what their society looks like and how, in nearly every way, Scar is genetically superior to Mufasa.
Now, on paper, there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, I could compliment MatPat for actually using research and logic here. Heaven knows he lacks it on his main channel. However, as you can see, MatPat is using the animated character designs for his theory. And I'm sorry to say, it doesn't exactly work. When you look at the character models, you can see that both Mufasa and an adult Simba appear to be very physically healthy lions. Whereas Scar begins and ends the movie looking fairly lean and fragile. In the original movie, Scar even admits that he lacks the brute physical strength of his brother, and thus had to resort to underhanded means in order to succeed to the throne. Because guess what? This is basically him with lions, and Scar is meant to be the lion version of Claudius who murdered his brother for power.
You see, us humans view Mufasa with utmost respect and Scar as the villain because, well, he has a scar. That makes him evil.
No, we view Scar as a villain because he assassinated his brother, attempted to assassinate his nephew, and was basically a tyrant who ruled through fear and intimidation. Scar is basically the type of character who wants power, but rejects all the responsibility that comes with it, making him the opposite of his nephew Simba, who had to learn to take responsibility. We view Scar as a villain due to his irredeemable actions, such as treachery, deceit, and cowardice. Hell, that's basically the reason the hyenas turn on him, because he tried to convince Simba that they were the ones who came up with the plan to kill Mufasa and called him the enemy. Scar holds no loyalty to anyone but himself, and he was punished accordingly for his actions.
However, it turns out that choosy lionesses choose Scar. Look again at Mufasa, Scar, and Simba. We see the tufts of fur on both Scar and Simba's knees, but you'll notice that Mufasa is distinctly missing those exact same tufts. Now, while it may be extreme to call it a genetic defect, the fact that he can't grow that extra hair on his knees is our first hint that Mufasa is actually a genetically inferior male lion.
And yet Simba is somehow able to grow that tuft of fur that, by your logic, makes him genetically superior to his father. I'm surprised you didn't throw in the side theory that Sarabi and Scar had a fling, and that Mufasa isn't really the father. Oh god, you're gonna do it now, aren't you?
But it's less of what Mufasa doesn't have and more of what Scar does that matters. A beautiful dark mane. That again is not just an artistic choice to make Scar dark and brooding. According to research done at the University of Minnesota, don't you know, lions with dark manes are actually much more attractive to female lions than those with lighter manes. In the Lion Kingdom, dark manes are actually a sign of lions with higher testosterone levels. In a Nature.com article covering the study, quote, males with high levels of testosterone grow darker hair. These males may be more aggressive and therefore better at defending mates and cubs, end quote. This in turn gives their offspring a higher chance of survival, which in the animal kingdom is a big deal. I guess in any kingdom, that's kind of a big deal. No one really wants their children to die early horrific deaths, but you know, animals care a lot about this stuff. Furthermore, lions with more testosterone also tend to have longer reproductive lifespans, which means that Scar is gonna be rockin' Pride Rock much longer than his brother. That's right, Scar is a literal sexy beast with those dark locks of his.
Thank you. I totally needed that, the mental thought of Scar getting his freak on, so thank you. Thank you for that. Now, yes, this is true. Lions with darker manes have a higher testosterone. However, the 2019 version of Scar is a rather dusty-colored mane that seems to be receding, meaning the redesign of an established character goes against your theory. MatPat, did you even bother looking up pictures of Scar's redesign before you scripted this? Because I don't think you did.
Let me clear something up right here. Lion society does not function like a human monarchy like we see in the movie.
Because it's a lion version of Hamlet. And because a lot of people have been saying that it's close to the original movie, not in a positive way, mind you, it seems that next to nothing changed.
We're led to believe that since Simba is born of the current king, he's next in line to take the throne. That is just simply wrong. Simba was most likely going to get himself booted out of the pride no matter what, dead dad or otherwise. When young male cubs approach full adult male status, they're actually exiled from the pride. Renowned National Geographic filmmaker Derek Joubert said in an article in Live Science, quote, when male lions begin to reach sexual maturity around age 2, the older males within the pride kick them out, end quote. Why would this be, you ask? One word, incest.
Oh, come on, man. Don't make me play the John Sean clip again.
Think about it. You're the king, and as a result, you're the one making most, if not all, of the babies. So you're making all sorts of little lion cubs, male and female. Once your little Simba starts looking for a mate for himself, if they stick with the pride, there's a really high chance that they're going to be related to the female lioness that they're starting to make googly eyes off of, meaning the circle of life just got a whole lot more awkward. And if you're starting to see some problems with Simba and Nala's relationship now, congratulations, you just understood the concept. Can you feel the love tonight? I certainly can, but I don't wanna. To avoid these sorts of awkward run-ins, the young male lions are kicked out of the pride, where they go on to form small groups called coalitions. Quote from Luke Hunter, president of Panthera, which, based on the name, is either a big cat conservation or a feline-themed supervillain society. I'll leave it up to you to judge. Quote, after being kicked out, the young males roam the countryside solo or in small bands, often with their brothers or cousins, negotiating the no-cats land between territories of other lions. They usually do this as a coalition, end quote. These coalitions begin roaming around in search of territory or a pride they can take over. When a coalition finds an optimal pride, they may challenge the current reigning lions with a fight to the death. Usually, sometimes they retreat, but mostly it's to the death. If the coalition is successful, they then take over the pride and reign over it.
Okay, there's nothing inaccurate about this. However, MatPat is applying real-world logic to cartoon animals. Not in the sense that they walk around on their hind legs and wear clothes, but in the sense that they can talk and behave similarly to humans. In this sense, they are all ruled over by a king. If the movie did follow real-world logic, I doubt a lot of the prey species would bow to the birth of a new cub. Mufasa would have a hornbill as his chief steward, or that hyenas would take orders from what is easy prey for them. In order for this theory to work, MatPat has to dismiss everything that goes against real-world logic. And I mean everything.
So, how this would have really gone down prior to the events that we see in the movie is that a young Mufasa and a young Scar would have been part of one of these exiled coalitions. Hold it!
You're using footage from Simba's pride. Yeah, I get that it's meant to represent his point. However, context is key here. The scene MatPat's using is when the villain Zira and her pride clan Simba and Kovu because they had been planning to assassinate Simba. However, when Kovu began to fall in love with Simba's daughter Kiara, he chose to go against the plan. They aren't fighting to take over another lion's territory, they're fighting to escape with their lives. Also, it's made clear in the movie that the Outlands are pretty much barren, and Zira believes that the Pride Lands rightfully belong to Scar. So not only would she be getting revenge, she would be taking over Simba's territory.
They would have come along the reigning lions at Pride Rock, defeated them, and taken over. Scar probably loses a battle of dominance against Mufasa the first time, which is why we see Mufasa as the reigning king, but comes back to challenge him a second time at the Gorge, this time winning single-handedly, or I guess multi-hoofedly.
Except in that footage you're showing, Scar throws Mufasa off a cliff into a stampeding herd of wildebeests that his hyenas caused. It isn't so much a challenge for dominance, as it is assuring that the assassination was a success, regardless if he had to get personally involved or not.
Anyway, that makes Scar, who is already overflowing with testosterone, the rightful and best king for the pride. So, in our more realistic interpretation of the movie, Scar wins and Simba still gets himself exiled, right? Doesn't this just mean that the movie continues on as normal? Well, yeah. If by exiled you mean eaten to death. See, there's something I haven't mentioned yet. When a new dominant lion takes over the pride, the first thing that they do as king is kill off all the children that aren't his. Ain't nobody got time to be a stepfather in the animal kingdom. Quote, when male lions take over a new territory, they almost always kill the pride's cubs, since they're not biologically related and don't want to spend energy ensuring that other lions' genes will be passed on.
And yet, Scar doesn't kill Simba in the original movie, the stage play, or in the remake, despite very clearly having the opportunity to do so. To add on to that, Nala is allowed to grow to adulthood, even though by the logic you're using here, she would be one of Mufasa's cubs.
Instead, he would have just left him far behind, formed a new coalition of male lions, and tried to find a new pride that he's not related to. Which means that when all is said and done, the final and true king of Pride Rock is none other than Scar himself. It turns out in this Disney movie, the villain would have been the winner. Oh, almost. You see, as I mentioned during the recap at the beginning, Scar ends up being a terrible king. He lets other predators, the hyenas, take over the Pride Lands. He depletes the food resources. And I'm not seeing any new cubs, if you catch my drift. He is terrible as the dominant lion.
And here's where I feel your theory comes crashing down around you. You just admitted that Scar does absolutely nothing as the dominant male, and allows the ravenous hyenas to ravage the Pride Lands, which Mufasa or Simba would have prevented. Just because by your narrative that Scar is genetically superior due to his high testosterone, it doesn't make Scar a good king.
In the movie, we see the lionesses bow to every whim Scar has, but in real life, lionesses are far more woke to their own power. Let's just say you should never get on a lioness's bad side. Though it doesn't happen often, lionesses have been known to attack the dominant male lion, especially when it comes to issues around food. Take this example from West Midlands Safari Park last September, where a male lion named Jelani was viciously attacked by the lionesses he was dominating. In the statement made by the park, they said, quote, "A dispute happened between Jelani and a female lion over some meat. Jelani and his two brothers usually stick together and are able to keep the lionesses in order, but on this occasion, the other females became involved first. Lions are very tough animals, and disputes similar to this are common in the wild." End quote. Disputes over food, you say? Well, what do we see in The Lion King? Scar hoarding food and giving it to the hyenas before he gives it to his female lionesses. This would have never stood in the wild. The moment the lionesses saw that he was hoarding the food, they would have killed Scar before the hyenas even had the chance. Hashtag girl power.
I see you left out context, MatPat, like you usually do. The reason Scar was hoarding food in that scene was because he promised that the hyenas that were working for him food if they managed to assassinate Simba. When that failed, Scar promised the entire clan that if they became his personal army, they would be able to eat as much as they'd want. Ending it here, since there really isn't anything much more I can argue against. While this video wasn't as bad as I thought when I first came across it, it's still pretty bad. MatPat tries so hard to apply a real-world logic to a movie about cartoon animals, and towards the end it all just kind of falls apart. With all that said, this is Night saying thanks for watching, and please share your thoughts with me.